And girls, Show Techno coming at you with the tutorial on laser engraver. So in our current project, we're looking at engraving some treated lumber using the laser, and we got a still image here of really what that's going to look like, throwing some 2x8s or 2x10s down, setting up the laser to cut into those surfaces and surface embellish them, fancify them. So I need to start on the software side and talk about Lightburn, this platform that we use to communicate from our graphics to our laser. Consider it like a printer interface, right? If we treat the laser like a printer, and we're going to start from there. So initially it was a request for the logos, and so I put an email out, and we're working this time with Ponies, Muskies, Sartell City. So Jeff, who's the manager of the Ponies, sent a couple versions over. This is a Adobe Illustrator or an AI, and that's like the professional graphics version. Typically, these can be vector-based. They can stretch or proportion without distortion. And then the PDF portable document format, much more common just for sending a file that anybody can read. So I grabbed both of those just to look at them both. And I also received the Muskies logo in an earlier email. So we're going to start with that Muskies logo and take a look at that. Before we bring them, well, let's just do this. We can bring them into Lightburn first because I want you to see what happens there. So I got the Muskies logo here. I'm just going to drag from Finder and drop it into my Lightburn software. Now, how did I get Lightburn? You should be able to grab it from self-service, or you can use a computer that already has it on. So like my computer already has Lightburn on it, so I don't think that's an option. Oh, here's the reinstall right here. You can install Lightburn, and we only have 35 seats of this, okay? And what happens right now is we're kind of at our limit or over our limit. So when we open this, it's not going to let us save or send it to the printer until we go help, license management, and actually put in our license key. Now I have mine activated. Where did I get this from? We're really in the weeds already here, aren't we? I got it from the current assignment, that Construction 2 sports deck assignment. I pasted the link in, or the key code in there. So that key code for the laser is right here. You would highlight that, copy that, go back and paste it into Lightburn. That's to activate yours. You also have to connect to the laser once in order for it to know the size of your laser. In this case, we have a Rita controller, and the size of the laser is 24 inches tall, 40-inch wide bed. So we see that 38 right there. That tells us that we are about 40 inches for our bed size. And that's what we can fit in for material. So let's say we get to this point where we actually have Lightburn interface. Either we're using the computer that's down there and we've brought our graphics in there. This image right now, as it comes in, looks like it's actually going to work. The image itself, if I open it with preview, double click on it, it comes up like this, and it's a PNG, Portable Networks graphic, which is great and usually means that it has a transparent background. So this gray that we see here is like nothing, if you can imagine, and the white is left filled in. If we preview this in Lightburn, so in order to do that, I'm going to click on this right here, the preview. It's going to show me what it looks like, and right now it's got all these kind of waves and textures in it, and I could leave that if I want that look, or I could get rid of that, like if I didn't want all of that inside the S. So first of all, it's an image when it comes in, so you can't really change that too much. We can change the settings, the speed and power, which we'll talk about, but how would we affect this image prior to bringing it in? So we want to go back to that downloads folder where we downloaded our images. We'll double click on it, open it with preview, okay? Inside preview, this is like a mini Photoshop app. So this tool right here is called the markup tool. So I click on that. Normally it's going to come up like this, and I want to click show markup bar, and then I go over here to magic wand. And magic wand, or the instant alpha tool, an alpha image is an image that doesn't have a background or transparent background. I can select that, and just by clicking and dragging, it's going to pick up all like colors that are contiguous or touching. So I'm going to undo that one more time, escape. So if I click here and drag, you can see it grabs the white, and I drag a little bit further, it's going to grab all that. Then I hit delete, and it clears out all that information. Now for the fish, I might want to leave that texture. I'm going to grab this little bit right here because I don't want that to be textured, and everything else looks cleaned up. So for the muskie itself, we're going to leave those scales and see how that looks. I have to save this before I bring it in, so Command S to save, or go under and save it. And then I can drag this back in right next to my original. I've got a different version of it right now. Go back to Finder menu, drag the Muskie's logo in, drop it. I've got two next to each other, and you can see they appear slightly different. I have to select both of them in order to preview both of them. So I just hit the Command key, select one, hold the Command key down, select the other one, or drag a box. I got them both, and I'm going to preview these. And we can see the difference in those two. Okay, so that's what it's going to come up as, and I like that. But this is just important to know for any other logos that we're working with. So for example, let's look at the Ponies logo and see how that came in, or if we can even drag an AI file in here. So that's the Adobe Illustrator file, and that's what it's going to look like. If we preview that, because I have it selected, that's what the Ponies logo is going to look like. Let's see if I can zoom in here a little bit more. So that's kind of cool. And that would be the Adobe Illustrator version, and it's just the outlines or the lines, okay? And actually, there's 3 different layers that came in here, so I could really have some fun with this. Let me click OK. I'm going to delete these 2 out of here so I can play around with this. Now, this Ponies logo, I can drag this, and right now, if I don't click on anything else, it'll keep it proportional, which is super important. I don't want to distort the image. But I've got 3 different layers here because of that Adobe Illustrator file, and I could change any one of these to be a fill layer. So like this red layer, what if we made that to be a fill instead of a line? And now let's preview that. And that's what happens when we fill in that instead of just making an outline. That's pretty legit. And then let's play around with maybe the brown too. Let's see what that looks like for fill. Okay, that does not work, right? So that brown layer, we want to leave that as a line. How about the pink? No, definitely not. So this is, it matters huge. It's definitely a factor, right? So right now we got pretty sweet results by playing around. And so you understand, right? The line would just be the profile, the outside profile of that. And the fill is actually, it's going to burn it in. And typically we choose a fill whenever we're doing letters. And we do line if we want to like cut something out, like the perimeter of something, because it would just do that light perimeter. So click OK there. We could also select individual portions of this, I believe. No, it looks like it's all tied together. I could not output that brown, and now let's select all. So I just unchecked the output and click this, and now it's going to get rid of that outside outline. That's just a travel line for the laser, I believe. I don't think that's actually, yeah, it's just coming down from here, so that's nothing. These would show up. So let's keep playing with this a little bit. What if we turned off the output here, and then we just looked at this now? So that's cleaner yet, and I think that's what we want, right? Like something like that. So I have the brown and the pink layers turned off for output. I don't want them to engrave. This one is set up as a fill. I could do one more thing, which is a fill and line. And that's just going to do, it's going to do the perimeter same, but it's going to burn in that outside. It'll chase that all outside one more time and really darken that. So that would probably be a pretty cool effect. So that's the Adobe Illustrator version. Just so I can show you this, I'm going to grab the PDF version too and bring that in and see what it does. Okay, and that's in here. It's highlighted. Probably going to do the same thing. Yeah, look at that. It almost instantly goes to what we had. All because I think I have these off. So it's pretty much the same thing then. It has those layers in there. So you could work with either one, AI or the PDF. Okay, we've got this graphic in here. We have to think about like where we want. Right now I'm struggling to center this. So a quick tool to do that is if I click this marching ants or the zoom to frame selection, that centers it back up. Where am I going to put this and how do I get it on a board? We're going to learn in the software that we need to use a print target window. So we're going to click on this red square here. I do want to choose a red layer, and then I'm going to drag a box, and I'm going to go up to the width and height, and I'm going to make that box the size of the window that I want to print in. So width and height, I'm actually going to make this proportional, 9.25 inches by 9.25. And that's the width of our 2x10. So we're going to print within that square, and click Move tool here, select my ponies, and move those in here. Now we're outside that boundary, so okay, let me explain this differently. I would be like engraving on a square end here. Let's just change the proportions of this to be more like our board itself. So let's try 38 inches by 9.25, and that's what our lumber is going to look like. So I'm going to slide that to just fit inside here. Hopefully that doesn't give me an error with print boundaries, but that's probably easier to see how these would come in. And now I'm going to place this Ponies logo on the right hand side. Okay, and you know, maybe I want the pony running to the left. I don't know, we'll see which way the Muskies one faces. I'm going to bring that Muskies logo in, and this is the one that I should have edited because it's saved. I'll shrink that down to fit. And we're going to put two of these on one board. This guy's facing to the right as well. We could flip the pony to facing the other way, but I think we'll keep them facing the same direction. They seem to always be traveling to the right. So I'm trying to get that to fit pretty proportionally. I'm going to select this and go with my marching ants again. There we go. And maybe make the Ponies logo a little bit bigger as well. Spacing up here is pretty even relative to the Muskie S. It's a longer logo, so I don't want to give it too much precedence here or make it too much bigger. But I'm looking pretty good right now. I want to check my layer settings. So for an image like this, I'm typically going like 350 for speed. So in millimeters per second, I just double clicked on this layer, and I'm going to change the speed to 350, and I'm going to go power 45%. Click OK, and I'm going to change that for any of my other layers, like this image layer, which is going to be, oh, I think I got to change, so this is important. So my red box right now, that red layer is set to no output. The image, when I brought it in, also created a red layer. I want to change that to the same color as my ponies layer, which is this burgundy number 10. And now it should, it didn't though, maybe it's slightly different color. C1010. I don't see it. Well, I must just have to change the settings. So I'll double click on that, change this to 350, 45% power, and click OK. And now these both have the same power settings. When I select all, Command A, and click Preview, it's just going to burn the Ponies and the Muskies logo. It's going to take 37 minutes to do that, and that's it. Okay. So lastly, I have to position this in the laser, which I think the next tutorial video will go over. If I had to move this, I'd select all, use the arrow keys. So I'm going to drag a box, use the arrow keys to move this down and over. And also, if it gives me an error that said it's outside of limits or bounds, I might have to delete this outline, this red outline, because it sees it as too close to the edge. It's like an outer edge limit. Beyond that, like right now, if I wanted to save this, I would go File, Save As, because I'm going to save over the Jake Lundgren, and I'm going to call this Ponies underscore, because computers like underscore, Muskies underscore table underscore engrave. And I'll click Save. It's going to save as a Lightburn project. Now this is transferable. I could transfer this to the computer that's hooked up to the laser, and from there we'll take over with getting this engraved on the board.